Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. It's going to be a good week this week. It's already been a good week, actually. It's been a fantastic week. Celebrated my mom and my sister's birthday this week. Born on the same day, which is a good and a bad thing. It's a special thing because not many moms and daughters are born on the same day. And I feel like in my circumstance, it is a good thing because it's kind of made their bond more special, in my opinion. It's kind of a sweet day, It's my mom's birthday, sister's birthday. It's kind of a special thing. It was always a nice, thing growing up, like, oh, it's mom's and my sister's birthday. We got 2 birthdays one day. It becomes like this big old thing. But then when you get older, now you have to buy them. It's like double the gifts on one day, which I actually don't mind. At least, it kind of makes it so, in my immediate family, there aren't many other days that I have to remember because 2 of my family members are on one day. So I don't really have to worry about the other person's birthday, if that makes any sense. But it was good, though. It was good. Got some good gifts, some cards. Went to dinner. Had some seafood. Now, I don't really have seafood all that much. But we decided to go to the seafood place, which is pretty good in town. I normally am a person where I have to be by the ocean to get some pretty good seafood. But the place that we went to, we've been there a few times. It was actually pretty good. I got the halibut, which I don't normally get. It's one of the more expensiver fishes that you can get there. I gotta say, it was pretty good. And one of the sides was sauteed mushrooms, which I'm a mushroom guy. Like I like mushrooms on, in things by themselves, whatever. For some reason, these mushrooms were just, maybe some of the best mushrooms that I've ever had in my entire life. I know that sounds weird to say, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. They were so good. The flavor was just immaculate. And it was just a side of sauteed mushrooms. That's all it was, And it was one of their newer sides there at the place. Like, they never had that before. So when I saw, it was a brand new side, I'm like, yo, well, I gotta have this. Might as well. Life is about trying new things. You gotta try, some things that you've never probably had before, right? And don't get me wrong, I like halibut, but I've had it before. I was either debating between going with the halibut, the salmon, the swordfish, which I've had, and the snapper for dinner. And I was like, I almost chose snapper, but then I was like, you know what? Halibut is, I've had it before. It's a well-known fish. People like it. I like it. I'm going to play it safe. And I'm going to get the halibut. And don't get me wrong, it was really good. But some part of me was like, oh, man, you should have got the salmon. You should have taken a leap of faith and gotten the salmon. It might have been better. And in my defense, now I like fish. I really do. I think fish is delicious. I think that it is a pretty decent protein for you. But I do have to admit, fish, pretty much all fish kind of tastes the same. The only one that's kind of different to me that I noticed right off the bat is salmon. Like they all kind of taste the same, and it's kind of annoying. But then again, like if you like fish like I do, it isn't all that much of a big deal, in my opinion. I can get over it. And luckily enough, the restaurant that we went to gave me a side of lemon. So I can just douse that bitch in lemon. And fish with lemon juice is a pretty elite flavor combination. At least I think so. I mean, it just kind of brings the fish to life in a way. I wouldn't say that it douses the flavor of fish, but it certainly does kind of amplify it more, enhance it in a way, and makes it more, I guess, flavorful. Which, a lot of people like to say that fish lacks flavor. They ain't wrong. It does lack flavor compared to other proteins out there. I mean, listen, also, how many of you guys, let's be honest, right? How many people out there are going to cook up a steak and not add like anything to it, right? Like no salt, no pepper, no seasoning, no butter, right? You're just going to cook it the way it is? I don't really think you are, you know? So when you say like fish has no flavor or fish tastes bad, I want to see these people eat a piece of steak or even chicken or pork that also is not seasoned. I can guarantee you that it's going to taste just like fish, but not as fishy, flavorless, I don't know why. I mean, I would assume that when they cook up fish, they use like a seasoning with it, and I guess it just isn't strong enough, or it just kind of falls off the fish when it's cooking. I have no idea why fish kind of like seems like it doesn't have that much flavor. I've noticed that with pretty much every fish that I've ever had in my life, except salmon. Salmon is like the one fish out there where, in my opinion, it does not need really that much extra flavor boostage. It just kind of has everything already in it from its natural flavor. So I feel like I never really have to add too much to salmon because it already tastes really good. That's just kind of like what I feel about fish in general. Now, I was also kind of thinking when I was eating there that kind of messed up. That I should have ordered something else because, in my opinion, fish and chips is always for me like a solid choice when you're at a fish restaurant or a fish establishment. It's always like a safe bet, but it's not very fancy. This is a fancier restaurant where you eat with a fork and a knife, right? This isn't like a dive bar or a diner or a buffet where, you're going to be eating fish and chips with your hands, right? That's not what this place is. This place was way too fancy, way too high end for me to be fucking around and eating a platter of fish and chips. Even though I wanted to so badly, I just felt like where we were, it was a little low class. So I decided to class it up and get the halibut. Now, it would have saved me a lot more money if I was to go with the fish and chips rather than the halibut. I mean, Jesus Christ. The halibut was an expensive fish. No, not that super expensive, but it was a lot more expensive than the fish and chips, I will say that. But I felt like I needed to be fancy. I needed to be in the element. It's a restaurant. where the lights are not very bright. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's an eating establishment where it's dimmed, lidded. The lights are dim. So it feels more intimate, I guess you could say, or more close. You can feel that this place is expensive, right? Because they don't want to keep the lights on because, you know, they want the effect of, ooh, this is fancy. We're in a dark room where there's only like one little light where you can see only your table and that's it. You don't want you to see anything else because, the food is all what we want you to see. Something like that. I don't know. I don't really understand why some restaurants, the fancier they become, the less light there is. Have you noticed that? I sure have noticed that. The cheaper the restaurant, meaning like the classless, the sloppiness, the food quality, when that all goes down, the lights are brighter. When the quality goes up, the lights are dimmer. I've noticed that. I don't know if you guys have picked up on that or why that is. Now, I'm no restaurant expert, but I've been to a lot of restaurants. And every time I notice that, dimmer is usually better, lighter is not as good. Don't really know what that is, but I think you guys can kind of pick up on what I'm vibing with. That's kind of just what I feel, what I see, honestly. And there's some restaurants out there, very few that, are well lit, not like super bright or super dark, but, pretty well, decently lit that you can see things around. That the food is not bad, not terrible, but not great either. Those lie in the middle of the pack where they're not like super good or super bad. They're just okay. But I wonder what that is. Is it like a brain trick or something? Is it like a placebo? Is it to like make you feel like, I don't even know like what it would make you feel like to be in a darker room and eating food. Like, does that make you feel wealthier? Does it make you feel more important? Does it make you feel like the food is expensiver? I don't know. Everybody at this place was also in like with a black shirt or black top, and I was wearing the same thing. I was wearing like jeans in a black button-up shirt. It was looking pretty nice, I gotta say. And I was looking around and then looking at my shirt. I was like, dude, I could work here. Like, I'm pretty much wearing the exact same attire as these guys are. I could easily, just work here. Or maybe someone like, hey, like if they saw me from behind, like, hey, where are you going? What table you at? Like, oh, I'm a guest here, buddy. I'm not no employee. I'm just here to grab a bite to eat and give me some fish. You know what I'm saying? The one thing I also I like about fried fish in general is the friedness of it. The friedness adds so much flavor that it makes it unclassy, very unclassy, which, I'll be honest, is kind of what I enjoy when it comes to just eating food, right? I mean, sure, classy food is good. Eating classy is nice. It's exquisite. It is a nice experience. It's a nice time. But I'm not really looking forward to that when I'm trying to eat some food. I'm looking for food that is going to make me happy. That's going to, even though the food that I got was delicious, it was excellent, it was exquisite. I got to be honest with you, I would much rather enjoy tearing up a platter of food from Long John Silver's than this fancy fish spot. I can't lie. That's where my heart is. My heart wants cheap, but my brain is like, no, you need to be fancy. You need to be fancy. And I don't even know why I need to be fancy, but when you are feeling fancy, it's a good feel. It's almost like dressing nice. Like, sure, being in sweats and a tank top and some socks, it feels great. You just feel more relaxed. You feel more at ease. You don't feel as stressed out as you could be. You don't feel as uptight. You don't feel as tight. You don't feel as constricted, right? But when you're dressing nice, you got a nice pair of jeans, some cool looking shoes, a good nice fitting shirt, a belt on, you do feel constricted. You do feel a little tensed up. You do feel a little like, ooh, like you're holding everything together. But then again, you look and fly. And then when you look fly, in a way, you also feel fly. And those are like conflicting feelings where you want to feel good or you want to feel fly. Very, very, different circumstances call for different feelings. If I'm at home by myself, I'm going to want to feel good. I want to feel comfortable, feel loose. When I'm out in the public, when I'm out in, some place outside my home, I do want to feel fly. And if I'm feeling good, dressing like a slob, which makes me feel good, I wouldn't feel fly. And the feeling of not feeling fly in public is not a good feeling. It is a embarrassing feeling. It is a feeling that you don't want to live in this moment. You don't want to exist. You ever feel that? My dudes out there, when you're feeling not fly, when you should be feeling fly, you feel like you just stick out so much. It's like going to a special occasion, right? A special event, and you're underdressed. Oh boy. Now, I've had this feeling many times, and it is not a good feeling whatsoever. Jesus Christ. One time I was at a wedding, this is years ago, and everybody was like, granted I was younger. I wasn't like, 31 like I am now. I was like maybe, I don't know, 18, whatever, 19. Every dude was like wearing like a shirt and a tie, and I was wearing just like a polo and some jeans. And granted, yeah, I was younger, right? I was 18 or 19, maybe even 17. I can't remember. But I was young. And I just felt like I was so underdressed. And like that feeling is just so weird because you feel like you just stick out. Like, oh, look at this guy. Does this dude not get the memo? Or like, does this dude not give a damn about what he is at or where he is at? It's like, no, I care. Trust me. But this is all I had. And this is all they told me I could wear. Or this is all they told me I should wear. I'll be fine. But no, like I want to, I'm at a place in my life where I'm older and I can afford shit. And I'm like, you know what? I want to be as fly as I fucking can be. If I'm invited to a wedding now, dude, I would actually want to wear a tuxedo as a guest to a wedding. I ain't even kidding. Like, that would be so cool. I don't think I've ever worn a tuxedo in my entire life. I don't think I ever have. I'm being honest. I think that I've worn a suit. I mean, man, you know what also too? When you wear a suit, man, like if you're a guy and you put on a suit, yo, I mean, you feel like you're like the man. There's like just like you mean business, like not like, get out of my way peasant, but like, you feel like everybody's looking at you because you got a suit on. I remember a few times when I was in high school, we would have these band concerts. We would have, concerts, at school. And the attire was, black tie. We would dress up with the suit jacket, slacks, white shirt, and a black tie, and dress shoes. And after that, I never would want to pack a extra pair of clothes to change, so I would just be in my suit jacket, my slacks, and my shirt and my tie. And man, from that young age in high school, I was like, dude, the way the people look at you when you're dressing nice and like be like, yo, you look nice. It's a good feeling, man. It's a really good feeling. Like you kind of want to chase that feeling all the time. But you can't be doing that every single day. If especially like if your like workplace does not call for black tie, I mean you can't be working. You can't be in a black tie, you know, attire every single day. I get it, I would want to because you feel like a G, like a top G, but like you kind of got to step it back a little bit. You got to let everybody be, you can't just outclass everybody at once. That just wouldn't be fair. And especially if you do like every single day. I mean, it wouldn't be good for everybody else at the workplace. People would be like, "Why are you dressed up so good? Why what's the occasion? Who are you trying to impress? What are you doing? What are you trying to show?" Like people will be questioning you about why you're dressed the way you are. It's just like, "No, bro. I just like looking like a G. I like looking fly." That's all I can say. I don't know. But it was a nice place. I dressed pretty formally. I think I was one of the best dressed people there, I'll be honest, at this restaurant. And then after that, I went to Barnes and Noble bookshop. I don't know if you guys have ever been or if you guys read books, but I think I'm becoming more and more of a book reader as I get older. Right now, I'm reading the third Dune book in the Dune saga called Children of Dune. It's a really good book so far. And I own all of the 6 Dune saga books from Frank Herbert that I plan to read. And I'm going to be honest with you. As I've gotten older, I kind of like have been more vibing when it comes to reading a book than watching a TV show. Because both take a very long time, you know, and both, are much longer to consume than a movie is, right? Now, I still think that movies are my favorite form of entertainment right now at the moment. There's not a lot of good ones right now, but, nonetheless, I love the art form of a movie of being like 2.5 to 3 hours long, storytelling, characters set up, plot, climax, ending, beginning, middle, and end. I like that shit, right? But I right now I'm just not really interested really in that much TV shows that have been coming out. And I have not wanted to watch a TV show that maybe I missed in the previous few years and I was like, you know what, I want to go back and watch this. I've had no desire whatsoever to go back and watch a TV show at all. Been kind of more into books. And I think because it's a book, when I read it, when I can read it at my own pace, I can open it up and close it back up whenever I want, leave off, remembering where I left off on, taking a break after a couple chapters here and there, coming back, reading a few more, putting it away, coming back. It doesn't feel as like much of a time commitment as a episode of a TV show is. With an episode of a TV show, I feel like I need to watch the entire thing, at least an entire episode, like within a few sittings, or if not, I'm never going to come back to it, if that makes any sense. Like I said, in books, I can like walk away after a chapter, maybe even like a half of a chapter. I can walk away and come back and not being able to forget where I left off. Whereas a TV show, I can't just stop the TV show in the middle of an episode. I don't even know if it's meant to do that. Like I guess you can kind of stop depending on like what kind of show you're watching. If it was first aired with commercials, like there's breaks, but like in these modern day TV shows where they're like just straight to streaming, like there's no commercial breaks. you know, or breakoffs in the show where there would be a commercial and just go cuts to black for like a second or two. Like that's not in these new modern day shows. It just goes for 40 minutes to an hour and then it stops at the end, you know? With a book, I'm much more free to begin, stop, start again, finish, put down for a little bit, come back. I feel like I'm more free when I'm reading a book than watching a TV show. I don't feel as constricted or, you know, um, like held down to watch at least an entire episode in one sitting and then start the next one. I don't know. I just feel like it's like with a TV show, it's an automatic time commitment. With a book, if I need to do something, I'll just stop here and come back to it. I don't know. It's like a freedom thing. It's like a free will choice type of thing where it's hard to understand, but it's like to me it just feels more freeing to read a book, at my own pace, which I'm not the fastest reader. Let me be very clear. I'm not a fast reader, but I feel like I am a good paced reader where I at least am able to get every single bit of, information and dialogue that is in these pages that I'm reading. And I also feel like, too, if I miss something or I feel like I didn't really understand what was being said, which I mean I'm no expert in the English language, so I don't know what every single word that is being written or printed on a book means. I mean, I know like maybe a good like 97% of the vocabulary is what it means in these books, but there's that 3% that I'm not going to know what it means because the person who wrote it is much more smarter than I am. So hey, if I see a word that I'm reading across and I'm like, what is this? I will um I'll stop and Webster that bitch out. I'll go through the process of elimination. I'll try to either read it back and try to decipher it myself and figure out the meaning on my own. I'll go to the dictionary, or I'll just kind of, gloss over it and be like, is this really an important word for me to know right now? Probably not, so I'll just skip it. But hey, I'm also reading a a science fiction book about a made-up world, right? And there are some words in this book that I'm reading that are just out the freaking, that you've never even heard of before. There's names that you're like, how the fuck do you pronounce this fucking name? And then I'm like, well, you know what? I this name is coming up a lot in this chapter. I might as well Google or YouTube pronunciation how to pronounce this character's name. And that takes about like a minute or two, depending on like what kind of video you're looking for. And then you find it and then you're like, oh, that's how you pronounce it. I thought it was always this. And you're like, no, it's actually this. And then you're like, oh, okay, whatever. I'll probably just, shorten it. I'll say this instead of the full word, full name, actually. Maybe that'll be better. But yeah, I've been reading quite a bit. So I decided to take a trip to Barnes & Noble because why not? I've never been there before. And I know it's just a bookshop that you can just buy books. So little old me, is in Barnes & Noble. Never thought in my life that I would be in a Barnes & Noble looking for books. But there I was, browsing the books. You get a bunch of stuff from like biographies, fiction, nonfiction, new fiction, romance, science fiction, fantasy, straight up history books, world history, U.S. history, poetry, classics. And I gotta be honest, man, I was looking for a specific book that I did not find. It was Band of Brothers. Did not find it. I wanted to read that book so bad. I love the miniseries, but I was like, you know what? I need to read the actual book. Didn't find that, but did find a book called 1776 It's a book about the year 1776 and how important it was, to the country that we live in that year. You know, I've always wanted to know so much about our past as Americans and how, 1776 actually was, how it was for those boys back then with their backs against the wall against the British. Either be conquered or fucking triumph and win independence. I've always been, interested in that type of history, U.S. history, but also world history is also a thing that I'm like really, really like interested in. So I didn't just walk out with 1776. I also walked out with a book called, oh man, it's like I can't remember the actual name of the book. It's on my shelf. I forgot it, but it was about the history of the Roman Empire. And I've always been like a guy who was like loves history. There was a lot of books on those shelves that I just wanted to take them all. I mean, but this one in particular was like the history of the Roman Empire. I was like, oh shit. I mean, I need to read this like now. Like, I want to just finish all the books I'm reading right now and then just jump to this bad boy because this one's probably going to fucking break my brain. Not because it's complicated or anything like that, but because it's just like stuff that I've always wanted to know about, and now I have a book that's dedicated to the Roman Empire with passages and images and like evidence and stuff like that. I'm like, oh shit. Like, this is going to be tight to read. Like, I don't know if this was like any of you guys, but in history class, in, elementary, middle school, high school, they always had like these history books that had chapters chronologically of how like, time goes, where you learn about, people, events, civilizations, periods of time, locations in general, the people in those locations and what they did that was important to history. There was like always in every iteration of the quote unquote history class book, that always kind of like had a section of the Roman Empire. And that was always like one of my favorite ones. That one, Egypt, Greece, Mesopotamia, were always like the ones I was like, look at this shit. This is tight. And then, you would like spend on that, section for like a week. It was like a crash course of Roman Empire. Here's Julius Caesar. Here's the Colosseum. Here's the fall of the Roman Empire and and the birth of the modern civilizations or whatever. It was just never enough for me to satisfy my like wanting to know about these ancient civilizations. And now, as a grown man, I now have a book about the Roman Empire. And I'm like, dude, I cannot wait to read this motherfucker. This is gonna be incredible. Like, there could be a documentary about, ancient Rome, which I've seen some about the Roman Empire and Greece and all that. I've seen the documentaries, but I always feel like because like the documentaries are on a time crunch, right? It'll be like a National Geographic like documentary. That's like a one episode type thing, and it's like 42 minutes. I'm like, I mean, how much can you honestly put into this 42-minute program with commercials? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way they can put a sufficient amount of, knowledge and facts and stories and stuff in there and accounts that will be enough to satisfy my crave of like what the time period was actually like, And now I got this book that's like over like 400 pages and I'm like, oh shit. I'm thinking like this has everything in it. This has everything from the conception to the rise, the fall, the rise, the fall, the definitive fall. Like this is going to have everything in it. And I'm just like, I can't wait to read this. Now, I'm assuming all the books in Barnes and Noble, at least the ones in the history section, are like pretty damn good to at least decent. I can't imagine there being a whole lot of history books that are being sold at Barnes and Noble that are full of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not gonna publish like multiple copies of a book that's full of horseshit. That's just not gonna fly. I mean, like, there's a reason why they don't make books that are like the show Ancient Aliens. I mean, Ancient Aliens, say what you will about it, right? Is it real? Is it not real? Is shit in there that might have happened? Possibly, but whenever I see Ancient Aliens, I'm like, this is cool and all, but now it just feels like it's just pure like lunacy and pure entertainment now, which is fine, which is completely fine. But in this case, I want there to be truth to this entertainment. Sure, you can hype it up. You could, drag it out a little bit, but like, is this real or is this fake? Most of the times with stuff that's on that show, and I haven't seen that show in a long time, by the way. I maybe have seen like a total of 5 episodes of Ancient Aliens, and those episodes seemed like the more legit ones. That show's been going on for years now. I'm like thinking to myself, like, there's absolutely no way that all these episodes are, at all based in a single, like, true fact that somebody saw this and that this is what it was. I mean, I just don't believe that all those episodes have a whole lot of truth to them. So, I mean, they can make Ancient Aliens the show forever and ever and ever as a form of entertainment. Books can be entertainment as well, but also there's like real shit in books that is like more realer than like in like even like the most like realistic and factual documentary that you could possibly find out there. I don't know what it is, but I feel like the books, are allowed to go crazier than like anything that's like on TV. So that's why in my opinion, like I'd rather read a book about ancient or the Roman Empire than watch a 42-minute National Geographic documentary on the Roman Empire. I just feel like the book's going to be much more legit, much more descriptive, much more in depth, which at this point in my life is like when I'm reading about the Roman Empire, like I want the most in-depth shit that you can possibly give me because Jesus, I'm a person that wants to know about everything. I really am. Like I just need to get to the bottom of things. I ask a lot of questions. I expect answers. And one of the things that has always been like in my brain, right? Like just like eating at the back of my head, back of my brain. Like what was it really like back then? Like what was it actually like day to day? What were the people like? Was it at all like in the documentaries? Was it at all like the movies? In that horrible movie, Gladiator 2, they are in the Colosseum reenacting a sea battle between boats, and they have great white sharks in the Colosseum, and the Colosseum is submerged in water, and it's like, did this really happen to this extent? Is this even true, or is this all just bullshit? Like, with this book, I hope to find the answers to this. But then again, also, you gotta remember, the Roman Empire was so long ago. A lot of the stuff that we have from that is like almost barely legible. It's almost like it's so old that it's just like, damn, bro. And there's like there isn't much preserved from it, that it's like almost like, in a way, did we just want it to fucking like pass off into the, into dust and like never to remember what happened at this point in time? I mean, it's weird, man. It's like the accounted history stuff that we have, stone tablets, old scriptures, cave paintings, tomb carvings, from like Egypt to Greece to all this shit. Like, it's been so long since that was created and it has just eroded away. And you're just like, dude, what the hell were they thinking back then? They definitely don't think how we do now, you know? Look at how they built shit. Look at how they worship shit. Look at how they did everything. They definitely don't think that like how we think now. Like if you were to actually, break it down this way. I am a modern day man. I think in a certain point of view, I go to work, I do my job, I get paid, I come home, I relax, I decompress, I eat some chow, I go to bed. And then I do the same thing the next day, and the next day, and the next day. There is no way that that is how a person in the Roman Empire thought. There's no way they thought that way. There were so many more obstacles. There were so many more things going on. There was like religion. Like it was like, I feel like it was much more religiously heavy back then, that it was about like pleasing the king or the queen or the emperor, or like, is the emperor going to come and evict me from my house because I did not sacrifice a lamb, or, some weird shit like that, where it's just like, we don't think like that. They did. They thought in a way that we just cannot even replicate right now, or like, my son is ill from, this disease, and my wife has, not come back from her travels. How will I be able to, plow the fields in time? Like, that's just not how we think right now. It's just not. We don't have that type of survival of the fittest mentality right now. Everything with us, I don't want to say it's given to us, but it's much more easier than it seems like it would have been in the Roman Empire days. I don't see how a human from now and a human back then think any way in the same way as we would. If I was to meet somebody from the Roman Empire right now, there's no way that we think about things the exact same way. There's no way. I just want to know what it was like. Like, obviously, the best thing, that could ever happen, in my opinion, maybe not the best, but one of the best things, is the actual creation, invention of like traditional time travel, like going back in time. I'm talking like, as traditional, as conventional as like Back to the Future. Like, you build a time machine, you go back in time, the time machine goes with you, and you are stuck in that time period. Like no weird like interstellar or realistic scientific things that, prevent that from happening. I'm talking like true on traditional, made up, not real, not even possible time travel, right? Like I said, Back to the Future. Like, that would be something that, oh God, I would like, man, I like my life. Don't get me wrong, I do. I love my life. But if they gave me, oh, the choice whether you could do this, you can go back in time right now and you will never come back. And you get to experience how it was in the Roman Empire. You get to go back and you experience it, and then you get your one shot, whether you live or die, or however long that you live. You become a citizen of Rome. you have no lineage, you're a nobody, you're just there. You have to say, to the people that, you know what, I'm here. I have no father, I have no mother. I'm here. I'm here to, be, just live here. Obviously, you wouldn't say it like that, but you just have to blend in. I think I would rather do that than continue my life now. Not because I'm sad, because it would be way too good of an opportunity to not want to experience that, in my opinion. I think that would be absolutely insane to pass up. Like, you either live your life the way you are, happy right now, or you throw this all away and you go back in time and you're never remembered in the present day. You have no family in your new period, which is like 2,000 years ago, and you get to live in that and experience that time period. And you die when you die, and that's it. I think I might do that. Like, I mean, I love my life, don't get me wrong, but my fascination of the past is just, it's insane right now. It's crazy. And I wouldn't be, oh man. Like, now that I'm talking about this and I'm like, talking myself up, like I'm creating ideas in my head. Like, what if I actually like go to bed tonight? I wouldn't be surprised if I go to bed and I have a dream about being in ancient Rome, like waking up in the Roman Empire. I would not be surprised if that happens. That would actually kind of like freak me out a little bit because I'm thinking about it so much. But how cool would that be, man? How freaking sick would that be to go back in time into the Roman Empire? Now, it's not for everybody, obviously. There's a lot of people out there that, don't care about history as much as I do. That's fair. But I think that, my will and my need to know about things, about how things actually happened, if that were to ever cross my path of like, this is your chance, you get to go back in time and see the Roman Empire, or you can live your life. I oh, it sounds so sad, but I think I might go back. I think I might go back. I don't know. I don't know. It's an impossible scenario, right? That's never gonna happen. But I think I might go back. I don't know. That would be kind of crazy. But I wouldn't want to give anything that I love up. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I was in the history section and I was just like, dude, I could pick up any of these books right now, any one of them. I mean, there was a book about Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King. There was a giant book called Grant, and it was about Ulysses S. Grant. And I was like, holy shit. If I read all these, I'd be like a fucking like I'd be like so well rounded as a human being, as a person. I'd be like, I see these guys' experiences and how they were shaped and how they overcame these things and what they did. I would be like the most profound Chad of all time if I read those books. I do plan to read. Um, there was a Winston Churchill book where I was just like, dude, Winston Churchill, holy fuck. One of the boys, like, my God. If I read this, I might actually talk in an English accent, and be like have like a bulldogish, approach to so many things. I mean, that would be insane. But yeah, there was a book on Grant. There was a book on like the Pacific War. There was a book on like Russia, essentially winning World War II. Like that. I mean, there was books on so much stuff that was just like, oh my god, I want to buy all these books. God damn it. But hey, now that I can buy all the books I want, I can pretty much just feed this addiction to knowledge that I've always had. Oh, I didn't even tell you the one book that I'm definitely gonna buy whenever I get time to read it. There was a book, I kid you not, called Area 51. And I was just like, bro, no way. It's on. Like, I'm going to buy that my next visit, whether it be at Barnes and Noble, Amazon, I don't care. Like, I'm going to buy that and I'm going to read the shit out of that book. Like, I don't care if there's like any evidence of alien life in that book, or there's accounts of like, yeah, there's aliens there. That whole base is just a wild, wild, wild thing that actually exists. That the stories behind it, the cover-ups behind it, are some of the most fascinating things that that has bled into pop culture and society, and just how we think about things and how we view things. Like that base is just rooted in like culture, not just America, but I think people in other countries know about it as well, and are probably, if not just as concerned as we are about it, as they are. Area 51, I saw that was an actual book, and I was like, what? This can't be real. There's not going to be some crazy shit in there, but you know what? There's a lot of TV shows out there as well about Area 51 that are for pure entertainment. What if this book is along the lines of just like entertainment purposes, where it could be made up? But then again, it was not in the fiction section. It was in like the history slash social studies section, where I'm thinking to myself like, okay, well, everything in this has to be real. I feel like, when we read books, at least my perception of books when it comes to like nonfiction, is like everything in this book must be true, because they went through all this time and effort to get it published and get it proofread and get it cited and get it, credited and get it greenlit to actually be published and made copies, millions of copies sold around the world. Like they had to have gotten everything, or at least 99.9% of what's in this book correct, right? Not that many books you read that are like nonfiction where like the shit's made up, right? Usually those don't get made. That's what it is. Now, movies, on the other hand, movies and TV shows are kind of made to, are made in with the aspect of entertainment first. Whereas books are made and published to inform, educate, give you a better understanding of something. They're not, I wouldn't say like books are made or were created in the first place, besides nonfiction, or besides fiction, sorry, for entertainment purposes. That's why I always think like, oh, book, it must be all real. Whereas TV show, I'm like, it might be a little real. It might be based, based on a true story, based on the book, based on the novel. It's based. It's not fully true. It's an adaptation. Whatever they're trying to tell you in the movie or TV show that they're basing a book off of, or whatever. Last thing I'll talk about before I get out of here, before my voice goes, it's every podcast, man. Every single podcast. I mean, I've been talking for an hour straight. It's a long time talking. I always get like my voice is like about to give out at this moment. Super Bowl 59. Had to work that day. I know. Horrible. What kind of place would have some people work on Super Bowl Sunday? Horrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But the game was also terrible, terrible, terrible. So, in a way, I kind of lucked out. I didn't really watch any of the game. I kept up with the score on my phone, like a lot of people did. I saw the score, saw the result. The Philadelphia Eagles demolished, spanked, slapped up, smacked around, destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs to oblivion. Patrick Mahomes' legacy will not, at least for this moment, continue. It is halted. Now, he still has 3 Super Bowl titles, but if he won a 4th one in three-peat fashion, you could say that he is approaching the legacy of Tom Brady. However, he has lost, so that is now put on hold for at least a good season. We will not be talking about Patrick Mahomes in the limelight of, defending champion. He will now be set back to level 1. I don't care if he lost in the Super Bowl. To me, he has been sent back to level 1. He's not a contender right now. The Chiefs, to me, right now, are not a contender because of how bad they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, who absolutely put on a defensive clinic and a quarterback clinic on how to just flat out win football games. Jalen Hurts made the plays he needed to play. The defense made the plays that they needed to make, and they ended up winning the game. It's that simple. And Patrick Mahomes had a very bad game, and so did a lot of the Chiefs. I mean, the defense was not good. Travis Kelce was not good. Patrick Mahomes was not good. It was all around a very, very, very bad performance from the Chiefs that, in a way you could say, caught up to them. If I'm being honest, the Chiefs have been kind of sneaking by this entire year, including the postseason, not playing that great, if I'm being honest. And then they come against a team that's, talented on every side of the ball, or on both sides of the ball, including special teams. And it's just a more talented and just overall a better quality team than the Chiefs, that they just smack them around and spank them. And it should not have been a surprise, but because they were the Chiefs and that they were the defending champs for the past 2 seasons, and how we have been saying the same thing, the same narrative, they just keep getting away with it. They're good, but they're not really that good, but all they do is win Super Bowls. It's yada, yada, yada. We just needed a team to come along that was just better in all aspects. And that was the Eagles. They were just better in all aspects. Now, of course, I'm going to be petty. I'm going to be, I'm going to be a sore loser a little bit. But I will say this: if the Rams made it to the Super Bowl instead of the Eagles, I do think that we also would have been able to win as well. Because even though it was in the snow, I'll give you that. Out of the Rams, the Commanders, and then the Chiefs, we played them better than the Commanders and the Chiefs did. I'm just saying, and we got the snow game. We got the game where, it was kind of like a little unfair, if I'm being honest. Playing in the snow when it's snowing, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's nice to see. It's football weather, sure. But when professional athletes got games on the line where, you need to win to move on, and it's the playoffs. I mean, come on. I mean, the snow clearly was, setting everybody back on both those teams. I mean, come on. you can't tell me like, oh, yeah, they won fair and square. They were just a better team. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. I keep going back to that game thinking like, you know what? If we beat those fuckers, like we could have won the Super Bowl. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, we definitely had the best quarterback left in the league. During the playoffs at that time, Matthew Stafford was outplaying all other quarterbacks. So I would have definitely liked our chances against the Chiefs. I'm just being honest. So yeah, bad Super Bowl. I heard it was a bad halftime show. I heard it was bad commercials, but pretty good ratings, so that's good. Like really, really good ratings, so that's always a plus, even though it's not really earned. I'll be honest. In the moment, I was sad that I was missing the Super Bowl. I was actually pretty depressed up until the game actually began, and then as it was going, I was like, oh, this game is actually ass. It's a good thing I'm missing it. But yeah, bad game, bad halftime show. Maybe next year will be better. All right, that's going to be it for me today, people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week.